Hello and welcome to the Who University of Law. And in today's video, I'm unboxing this, which is the one with the very long name, which is Doctor Who: The Eighth Doctor Adventures, Time War, Uncharted, Pursuit. So it's a Doctor Who title under the Eighth Doctor Adventures banner, under the Time War banner, under the Uncharted series, and this is the second in the Uncharted series. Although it kind of feels like the third in this sort of Cass arc. But I'm really enjoying these sets, joking aside. And I think I mentioned during my review to the last set that actually it was the most excited I'd been about the Eighth Doctor probably since Doom Coalition 3. Way back in kind of 2015, 2016, so we're talking nearly 10 years ago. That's not to say I haven't enjoyed the stuff, but it's the most excited I've been since. I feel that's a real... And then I kind of felt that emotion again when he was in the Paternoster Gang this year, and also when he was in the Fifth Doctor Hooklight this year. So we're getting some great Eighth Doctor stuff at the moment, and I'm really enjoying all of it. So obviously with my recent focus on the front cover, we've got the TARDIS, we've got Centaurans, or they are actually Time Lords in this Uncharted universe. We've got the Doctor and Alex, who are kind of opposed. I love this image. And then we've got Cass, and this image is taken from the third story. The fourth story, the finale. I get confused. Yeah, this isn't a trilogy of stories. There's 4 stories in these sets, which I absolutely love. So let's start by unboxing it, getting the page open. I try and keep it as spoiler-free as possible, but I may kind of say things that may put you off. I think I try and keep it vague enough that it doesn't ruin anything entirely, but specific enough within that vagueness that if you listen to it, you know what I'm talking about. Uncharted, I have to say, I didn't quite clock until this set that Uncharted is the fact that we're in this new universe that is Uncharted. And I think it's a great thing to do with the Time War, because obviously the tricky thing is this, obviously we want more Eighth Doctor Time War. We love that, and I think his Doctor works so well in the Time War, particularly in the 4th volume of the 4th season of Eighth Doctor Time War stuff, because he has some great scenes with the Time Controller. The difficulty is obviously the main Time War story is now being carried by the War Doctor, which is the right thing to do because he's the Time War Doctor. And of course, we know that the Eighth Doctor really, he helps where he can, he does not fight. And I think by taking them into the kind of multiverse of the Time War is a spectacular way of kind of having these Time War stories whilst keeping true to the fact that this is the Doctor who does not fight. Now, in that concept comes from Night of the Doctor, and so of course does Cass as a character. Cass just leaps off. I mean, she's only it's a 7-8 minute episode as it is, and she dies. I think it's less than halfway through. That episode, that minisode, is a masterclass in what Doctor Who can be. It is the amount of lore and inspiration that has given the fandom in the 12 years since it was webcast is phenomenal. You know, the amount of potential that was in that story that was so thrillingly dispersed across that 8 minutes and has now been, thank goodness, mined for that rich potential by Big Finish. First of all, obviously, is the whole idea of the Eighth Doctor and that whole idea of rejecting a promise and what it means to be the Doctor in a Time War, which obviously we always knew that he'd been in the Time War, but actually having this kind of idea of a promise and him rejecting it and the War Doctor coming from that, it was so rich and exciting, and you know the potential of that's been fantastic. But also we've had that to mine from it. But also there's Cass. Now Cass, I was a bit sceptical when they first said they were bringing Cass in, but I mean I was happy because I loved the character. But I thought, well, how's this going to work? And she's one of those characters who kind of keeps on, a bit like Clara when we first met Clara the Impossible Girl. She keeps dying and reappearing, and but it's being done in such a way that you can tell that when this series, when her arc is eventually done at Big Finish, you are going to watch Night of the Doctor back, and it's going to be a different thing. Whether the Eighth Doctor knows her and is pretending he doesn't, and there's a tragedy there, or whether the tragedy is that neither of them know the significance that they have to one another. But it's going to be a little bit like watching Rogue One after Andor. I think there's going to be such poignance to this episode. And as I say, it's just taking great writing, great directing, great acting from a very small minisode, and it's just spawned these hours and hours and hours of incredible drama. So that's really my kind of basic review. I love how on the packaging here they've got Cass on the spine. This is volume 7 of the 8th Doctor, Time War Range. We've got Spoiler War, we've got The Tale of Alex, Seesaw, and The First Forest. Let's have a look. We have got some photographs of the cast, behind the scenes cast information. You'll notice that Hieronymus Friend is being continuing to be played by people who've played companions. Most notably, it's mainly Nikki Wardley in this set. Although, interestingly, we do have Gemma from the Terra Firma story, and it's interesting to see whether they do more with that now, more prequels about that, now that they've kind of got Gemma back. But what I did note in this set is the behind-the-scenes features talk about how it's friends coming back who've had a sticky end. And, of course, we launched this with Audacity. It had the voice of Audacity. So now it's implying to me that Audacity is going to have a bit of a sticky fate in those stories that are set much earlier in the Eighth Doctor's life cycle. So it starts off with this quite fun story. Spoiler War by Mark Wright. It does what Doctor Who does best, which is taking like an old manor, Downton Abbey kind of setting, and doing a sci-fi twist. If it was a little bit reminiscent to me of some of the later Ravenous stories, in the sense that I really liked how I've gone completely blank there. No, it's gone. If it comes back to me, I'll put it in the comment section. But I really enjoyed this story. No, I do remember Ravenous. Yes, sorry. It reminded me of Ravenous in the sense that it kind of brought some Time Lord lore in, which I thought was really exciting. And obviously seeing that there's Centaurans instead, it had a really nice flavour to it, and it was quite a fun use of the Centaurans. And then we've got The Tale of Alex, which is a really interestingly told tale, and it kind of really puts the kind of core concept of this box set to the limit, I feel, which is the Doctor and Alex trying to fix the Doctor's mistakes, and kind of showing that lesson that actually, okay, the Doctor isn't perfect, but actually he is just trying to do his best, and I guess Alex learns the hard way in this episode. So I really enjoyed that, and that was The Tale of Alex by Catherine Armitage. Then we have got Seesaw by James Moran, who of course wrote for the TV series with David Tennant, which is essentially the kind of Time War television era, really. I really enjoyed this one. There was the characters are having to work in tandem across different kind of time zones, and that was quite a fun concept, and it was a good way of getting trust to be built back between the Doctor and Alex, but also between the Doctor and Hieronymus Friend. When we get to the finale, The First Forest by Tim Foley, which apparently they've been kind of teasing earlier on, and this kind of does have some links back to the last set, and we're definitely learning more about Friend and Friends society, and we're definitely deepening things now with Cass, with Alex, with the Doctor. Alex not to get back together again. That distrust reappears with Friend. Again, like Ravenous, we kind of get some references to figures from Gallifrey mythology who are enriched, given a voice. I love the concept of there being a first forest where everything began. It's just in the middle of space. And that if you go backwards through the forest, you're going backwards in time. And it was a great play with time. There was some lovely timey-wimey stuff, like chats that happened earlier, you realise were happening later. A little bit like Girl in the Fireplace, I guess, kind of little snippets of conversations from the future, and the Centaurans back as well. I did actually think because the Centaurans seemed to be the big reveal at the end of the last set, and they seemed to just go away after episode 1. But I was glad to see them back in the finale. How I open that up for you? Let's have a quick look. There we go. So all in all, I really enjoyed this set. I wasn't sure what I was expecting. It didn't grab and thrill me the way the previous one did. But having said that, I didn't feel let down. I think the last one, by its very nature, was just a thrill because it was setting everything up. I think this one really carried the baton forward, and I really am still intrigued and interested to see where this epic pursuit goes next in the Uncharted universe. What do you think of this story? Do let me know in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Look forward to speaking to you soon.